what's going to be the new path for any man that has confidence in himself, that has a standalone spirit, that can stand to be alone. Because a lot of you men cannot stand to be alone, man. I had a conversation some time ago, man, with a homeboy of mine, and the conversation, I keep trying to figure out how I feel about it, but I guess the only thing I can come up with is it was disappointing a little bit. Because it's always disappointing when a man basically says, "Hey, you ain't heard from me because of my girl." Especially when you grown and you're not new to relationships, right? And again, it wasn't a conversation where I was like demanding an audience and nothing like that. I was just saying, "Oh, yo, man, we ain't kicked in a minute." Right now, I've been around when it was having maybe some I don't say hard times, but maybe when he needed support and shit like that, and we kind of both needed support. And listen, it's still my man's super good dude, right? But I bring it up because it speaks to the fact that a lot of men, you're not willing to go monk mode for a year. You're not willing to cut off some vices for a year. You won't stop dating for a year, or stop seeing women so you can work on this thing here. Because listen, one of my regrets of being a young man is that I couldn't deal with myself. I didn't love myself enough, and I couldn't lead myself enough to say, well, I could be putting my energy into this. Like the way I think now, like I would have never wound up with my son mother if I really valued my time, if I really was thinking, I need to be doing this, I need to be doing this. You know what I mean? So the level of focus I have now, even with like being productive, like fam, just before I did this shit, I did 5 YouTube shorts. Okay? Because I value time. Like, sidebar. For the men out there, really for everyone, don't overthink shit. Just keep moving. Sometimes when I'm about to do a show, I be having to remind myself, don't overthink it. Take your time and don't overthink it and just push on through. However you want to take that. But anywho, so um CGA represents a new way of thinking for a lot of different men. And one of the first steps to even being able to understand his way of life, and again, it doesn't have to be yours. That's another thing I feel like when people, I think it represents a certain insecurity. It represents a certain insecurity when you feel like when someone speaks on their lifestyle and how they see the world and speaks on their philosophy, it automatically feels as though your philosophy or your way of life is threatened or you see it as some kind of threat. And it doesn't have to be that way. And it doesn't always mean that. And to us, but you only would get there if you feel insecure about who you are, or you're not sure about it, or you haven't pondered the subject of what am I really about, or maybe why am I even doing this. So CGA represents what's called the free agent lifestyle. The free agent lifestyle is one where men are getting past living through and living for women. Not saying we don't still love women and we don't enjoy women, but again, the kind of guy, I'll say this: the guy who can afford to live by himself, the guy who can afford to have a car and be able to pay for all that by himself, that's the kind of guy that you're not going to see in a relationship as much moving forward. For the most part, for guys moving forward, now women try to get ahead of the curve because women are starting to understand that men are more independent than women in terms of being able to maintain lifestyle and just their way of living. Whereas women will always find more ways to spend money. She will always find herself in a more expensive car, into a more expensive apartment. You know what I mean? Buying things you don't need. Being tempted by credit, being offered credit. Them credit cards get maxed out. You know what I mean? I always think about that. I always think about like, I always be thinking like, how do you afford? I had to ask girlfriend. I used to be thinking like, how do you afford these things? I knew she had an extra job and shit like that, but like I remember like I think it came up like how much like she got paid from like her primary job, and it was like, how are you affording these trips? You know what I'm saying? And I figure like she was using them credit cards, yo. And who knows? You shit. Listen, now I'm learning about the JUCO. Yo, anyone if you're not on one of these sites, these seeking arrangement sites, or basically these pay for play sites, you wouldn't know what your girl doing. Your wife or your girlfriend could be on seeking arrangements right now with a profile trying to find her sugar daddy. And listen, we all for it. But anyway, so Andrew Wilson, I guess you can call him a trad con, or I think TradCon stands for like I get for the most part traditional content. You know what I'm saying? Or you have a traditional mindset, or in so many words, what it's kind of really mean is that you're one of the chosen few, or one of the select few people who is trying to push or maybe bring back what could possibly be antiquated forms of marriage. Now, don't get me wrong. I think all the men agree that marriage does work if both parties are committed to marriage as it is, not making these adjustments, right? So, and another thing is when Andrew Wilson is advocating for marriage and stuff like that, the issue is he's not giving the men any kind of security. And the reality is this: as it is, as things are now, it's not really worthwhile in the long run. Because for one, in the Western world, women are conditioned to think that it's okay to, for one, not no matter who the man is, don't think too highly of him, or don't speak to him as if you think highly of him. Like a lot of women, especially black women have a hard time having a conversation with you where they talk to you like they fuck with you, or they talk to you like they respect you. And you know what's funny is CJ was speaking on this other day and was talking about like, yo, young men, I'm sorry, black men in general, you start experiencing disrespect from your female counterpart from a young age. Like I said, I think I was talking about this shit yesterday. I'll never forget being 7 years old and coming across this really rough girl because there was this really ghetto family that lived in my block, and they was like really fucked up in the game. And so they had, of course, very ghetto relatives. This little girl, she was living in a place that was so rough that she heard someone say, "I'm from the heart of Newark," to the point where she told us at 7 years old, "I'm from the heart of Newark." I'll never forget hearing that shit. It was a bar, so I said, hold on now, shit.
Because I always respected your hairline on television.
You know what I'm saying? I said, oh, hold on now. Shit, hold on. Shoot, whoa, relax. You know what I mean?
Goodness, you've had your surgery.
We're good to go.
We good to go. Anyway, so that's what he represents. But the conversation we're going to have today is about really several things. I'm going to see how far we get with this, because there was a lot being said during the debate, and of course you got two different sides here. You got two people who have two different fan bases. But what's really going on is it's Netflix versus Blockbuster. I'm gonna keep giving you that bar, okay? I'm gonna keep until you accept this truth and this love. I'm gonna keep giving you that analogy, but for the men who want to thrive in this world, the men who thrive in this world are those who have long-term thinking, those who can see, okay, this is where this is going. One of the points I made yesterday about old boy that's dating NBA young boys BM, or I think they have like a whole family. I'm sorry, I'm old nigga, but they have a whole family, I think, right? And one of the reasons why that young man is in that situation is because he doesn't have the long-term thinking that an older person has. He's not able to look at a situation and say, this is the pattern and this is where it's more likely to go. Men, and this is another reason why men got to be held to a higher standard. Men have to be able to look at something and say, okay, this is what's going on here. This is the reality of things, right? And